Good day to my esteemed colleagues in 4-H around the world, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2021 Global 4-H Digital Summit here online. Let me express my profound thanks to Korea 4-H Association to host this digital summit in such a difficult time, and also 4-H Canada as well as National 4-H Club Association in Taiwan for co-organizing this event. Because of their efforts, we are not disturbed by the global spread of COVID-19 and still be able to stay connected. It gives me great pleasure to be with you this evening here. The topic of the speech I want to share with you today is using social impact assessment to strengthen community resilience in 4-H sustainable development. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Xinxin Chen, Associate Professor from the Department of Social Work, Chaoyang University of Technology, Taiwan, Standing Director, National 4-H Club Association in Taiwan, and also Secretary General, Asia 4-H Network. This is the outline of my speech. Despite all the catchy targeted marketing and low service costs, most non-profit organizations tend to forget that we live in a time of surplus. Making incremental changes to existing programs won't cut it anymore. The clients already have too many choices. Youth organizations are no exception. It is clear that we need to come up with something new, creative, and break through in order to satisfy the clients or consumers. In the for-profit sector, Netflix did it, and Amazon did it too. Innovate or die. Everyone heard about this. The first example I want to share with you is the Netflix. Are you Netflix subscribers? Yes, I am. The story of how Netflix became the world's most successful subscription company. On the list of the world's largest and most successful subscription companies, we find Netflix, the American streaming giant that ended 2020 with 204 million subscribers worldwide, and currently has a market value of 243 billion US dollars. With all the great and overwhelming features, Netflix is marked as successful as it prioritizes subscribers' needs. The regular transformation is bringing innovations and creating ease for all its subscribers. The success story of Netflix is their business strategy to make customers glued to this platform. And next is Amazon. Jeff Bezos funded e-commerce giant Amazon in 1994 out of his garage in Seattle. Now, he becomes the richest people in the world. He once said, "I didn't think I'd regret trying and failing, and I suspected I would always be haunted by a decision to not try at all." The above are two inspiring cases. On the other side of the coin, business all over the world are slowly vanishing because they are outworked by their competitors. Learning the stories of two massive corporations that have paid the ultimate price for their lack of innovation and thinking about how we can avoid ending up in their situation. Where complacent brains go, these pictures tell us the reasons why, such as analysis paralysis. stuck in the status quo, followed the same strategy year after year, dismissed anything new as a fad, didn't take challengers seriously, etc. Lack of innovation will kill your business. Two examples to prove it. Example number one, Nokia, the fall of a mobile giant. Nokia was the world's most dominant mobile phone producer, but in the past years, the company has fallen dramatically. How could this happen? The answer is no secret. Their lack of innovation enabled the competition to take the lead. Most specifically, Apple products, as well as the Android operating system, crushed Nokia. It all started in January 2007 when Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and presented the iPhone. The moment he pulled that touchscreen smartphone out from his pocket, the industry changed forever. In less than 10 years, Nokia disappeared. Nokia failed to realize that brains are not as strong as they once were. The high-tech revolution made consumers expect constant innovation. Example number two, farewell Kodak, too late to innovate. For decades, Kodak grew to become an undisputed world leader in consumer photography and one of the world's most recognized brands. In the last century, it held an impressive 90% of the shares in the film market. Kodak was the first choice of both amateur and professional photographers. However, nothing good lasts forever. At the turn of the 21st century, things started to change dramatically. Kodak became less relevant and started its decline. Fast forward to 2012, and the company filed for bankruptcy. Kodak's leadership, lack of innovation, the board turned down the digital camera. They focused on its flaws and couldn't see why millions of potential consumers would want to buy it because it was filmless photography. The company's board didn't want to pursue the idea. After all, chemical-based film and paper was the business that always fueled Kodak's profits. As in the case of Nokia and Kodak, the lack of innovation has and will make companies obsolete. If there is one thing to be remembered from their mistakes, is it that innovation needs to be a core component of your organization's culture. So, to innovate or to die, are you ready for the challenge? Help your organization stay motivated and ready for embracing new technologies and ideas. Then we want to know, what do social impacts mean? What is social impact? Before you can begin any social impact assessment, you need to understand the answer to what are social impacts. Social impact is a term that's thrown around all over the place. About 2.3 billion search results on Google, but there's no one-size-fits-all definition for it. The world of social enterprise and charity funding is filled with acronyms, buzzwords, and jargon. The terms social investment and social impact can be equally as confusing and difficult to understand. Their interpretations often depending on context. You have probably heard businesses say, we are making a social impact, or customers say, I prefer to shop from companies who make a difference. But what do they mean? And how can you make a social impact? Social impact is the effect on people and communities that happens as a result of an action or inaction, an activity, project, program, or policy. Oh, P.S. That's not a complete and definitive definition, but I like it. Definition of social impact, a significant positive change that addresses a pressing social challenge. Creating social impact is the result of a deliberate set of activities with a goal matching this definition. Here are some for your consideration, such as social impact in health, in education, in consulting, and corporate social impact, international development, and environmental sustainability, impact investment, etc. The examples of social impacts include people's way of life. That is how they live, work, play, and interact with one another on a day-to-day basis. It also includes their attitudes, perceptions, family characteristics, friendship networks, risk perceptions, employment and conveniences. Their culture, that is, their shared beliefs, customs, values, and language or dialect. Their community, its cohesion, stability, character, services, and facilities. Their political system, the extent to which people are able to participate in decisions that affect their lives, the level of democratization that is taking place, and the resources provided for this purpose. Their environment, the quality of the air and water people use, the availability and the quality of the food they eat, the level of hazard or risk, dust and the noise they are exposed to, the adequacy of sanitation, their physical safety, and their access to and control over resources. Their health and well-being. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Their personal and property rights, particularly whether people are economically affected or experience personal disadvantage, which may include a violation of their civil liberties, their fear and, and aspirations, their perceptions about their safety, their fears about the future of their community, and their aspirations for their future and the future of their children. What is social impact assessment? A social impact assessment is a process of research, planning, and the management of social change or consequences, positive and negative, intended and unintended, arising from policies, plans, developments, and projects. Its primary purpose is to bring about a more sustainable and equitable biophysical and human environment. The core focus of an SIA is on the important impact of projects and developments beyond the impacts on natural resources. The SIA community of practitioners consider that all issues that affect people directly or indirectly are permanent to social impact assessment. So, the objectives of SIA is to encourage that development maximizes its benefits and minimizes its costs, especially those costs borne by people, including those in other places and in the future. Costs and benefits may not be measurable or quantifiable and are often not adequately taken into account by decision makers, regulatory authorities, and developers. By identifying impacts in advance, better decisions can be made about which interventions should proceed and how they should proceed. And mitigation measures can be implemented to minimize the harm and maximize the benefits from a specific planned intervention or related activities. Why are social impact assessments important? If it is wrong, we will lose everything. World Economic Forum recently studied 5,000 millennials across 18 countries. They say that the most important job of a business should be to improve society. More people care about business that do good for society. That's why we think campaigns like Social Enterprise UK's by Social are so impactful. By Social is Social Enterprise UK's flagship campaign that aims to build markets for social enterprises among the general public, as well as the private and the public sectors. It challenges all of us to think about where we buy our goods and the service from, and the social impact of our purchasing decisions. Why buy social? Buying social is about using your money as an individual or an organization to create a positive impact on the world we live in. When you buy from a social enterprise, you are choosing to spend your money with the business that is giving something back, reinvesting their profits to address the most pressing issues, from homelessness and unemployment to ethical trade and climate change. For so many entrepreneurs and businesses, running an organization that creates good social impact is not just an essential ethical approach, but also a commercial competitive advantage. For social investment, good social impact is essential for your business plan. Social investors want to invest money for a positive social and financial return. So they want a full understanding of the social impact that you hope to achieve, which means you need to measure and evidence your social impact. Good social impact evidence can help charity and social enterprise to improve their service and compare achievement with similar organizations. Communicate the difference they are making to be able to attract further investment. According to the International Association for Impact Assessment, the purpose of a social impact evaluation is to bring about a more ecologically, social-culturally, and economically sustainable and equitable environment. Without a full understanding of how a new project or policy may impact the surrounding community and the environment, a government or organization may unintentionally cause harm to community. So, why make a social impact assessment report? Like we're talking about, it brings opportunities or threats. And for the fundraising and collecting wisdom, uniting various interests empowering and focusing, taking responsibilities. Next, let's talk about how to social impact assessment, how to do it. While in the environmental field, there are already more standardized and consolidated measurement strategies. In the social field, there is no consensus, no a single frame of reference. Even existing methodologies with more than 20 years of existence, all these methodologies have particular approaches, scopes, and process that must be adapted to each specific organization. And at the same time, it makes it difficult for them to be used to establish comparisons of results and therefore be adapted as standards. In addition, some organizations more concerned with these issues, it can be said that social impact has already entered the nonprofit organization's agenda. This social impact is also being integrated into public procurement and the concession and the financing of large investment projects. The public administration thus try to have greater traceability on their projects, promote the social value of them, and contribute to the improvement of the impacts. It is not easy to know how to do this, but here are some things to consider when measuring yours. That's sustainability. Who benefits? How many people benefit? How do they benefit? Some social investors or donors are interested in specific social issue or geographical area. Others may provide capital for a diverse range of social issues. Next, let's talk about the stages of social impact assessment, how to do it. There are several steps of social impact assessment taken to help reach the mission of creating a sustainable and equitable outcome for a project or policy change. Many of these steps for an environmental social impact assessment overlap as you are going through the process. They are all important and can be guided by using social impact assessment tools designed to facilitate your information gathering and reporting. Step 1, develop a public involvement plan. Anyone that will be impacted by a new project or policy needs to be involved in the process. This ensures that all viewpoints about potential impacts are included in the social impact assessments. You will want to reach out and to develop your plan for communicating with community members and the public at large. This can include local politicians, municipal organizations, nonprofit organizations, local community leaders, and public hearings. Step 2, describe the proposed project policy and alternatives. That include project timeline, project location, human resources needed from the local workforce, materials needed, details of land requirements, size of the expanded area, municipal needs, details on approvals, permits needed. Step 3, describe the baseline conditions of the human environment. Baseline areas to consider for a social impact assessment include environmental relationship, historical background, political and social resources, population characteristics, attitudes, and cultures. Step 4, identify probable social impacts. Scoping. Is impact reversible or permanent? How probable is it that the impact will occur, how long will impacts be present, number of people impacted, benefits or costs of the impact, controversy over the issues, is there any? How much? Level of the unpredictability of subsequent impacts. Step 5. Investigate probable impacts. Other resources that you will need to identify probable social impacts include social science literature, past impact studies, comparative SIA analysis of a similar project in another region, public scoping and surveys, subject matter experts, census and statistical data, information from project proponents, and field research. Step 6. Anticipate response to probable impacts. Step 7, in step 6, if a particular response is anticipated and identified in your social impact assessment definition, then proactive steps can be taken to mitigate negative reactions through communication and transparency. Step 7, estimate indirect and cumulative impacts. Step 8, create a mitigation plan. The final step, develop a monitoring program. It's important to monitor social impacts throughout the project. Monitoring is also needed to identify any impacts that have occurred that were not anticipated. Early identification is vital for mitigation efforts. Then, how do voyages utilize social impact assessment to strengthen community resilience in sustainable development? While the benefits of voyage participation are well documented for youth, little is known about the impact of voyage participation on community social capital, largely due to measurement challenges. Voyage programs foster youth-adult partnerships that encourage active participation by youth and adults, often over many years. The development of habits of community contribution is a key outcome of voyage programs and a marker of community health that requires renewal in each generation. We wish to determine how these unique partnerships contribute to the well-being of youth and of the greater community in which the voyage development program is based. Does the Voyage Youth Development Program build connections between caring adults, organizations, and young people, which foster social capital for both participants and the community? This is the overarching research questions the USA Multi-State Education Extension and Research Activity Project will continue to explore. Besides, I and my research team also complete a study, 2020 Voyage Positive Youth Development Research Project in Taiwan, but it is still not enough. Research has determined that social capital is an important component in the equation for positive youth development. Additional research suggests the presence of social capital is a predictor of community action and engagement, and therefore community development. Thus, our focus on voyage programming and social capital has implications for both voyage and community development educators. The research results and the related resources will continue to foster and enhance positive youth development as well as community development. This work is especially important now as funding structures for youth and community development are in flux, and evidence to support positive consequences related to extension programming is even more critical to maintaining existing and developing new funding streams. Strong representation from diverse regions and both urban and rural program environments affords our voyage an opportunity to study the social capital implications of different extension youth program practices across different geographies and cultures. Building community resilience is an important topic in the current debate about achieving positive community development outcomes from sustainable place-based policies. At the practical, grassroots level, however, it remains unclear how community resilience can be effectively included and assessed in local development efforts. In parallel, and Van Clay argued that SIA can and should play a key role in assessing regional development strategies and proposals and in building community resilience. They also presented the SIA framework for action as a tool to enhance policies, plans, programs, and projects, and to assist in attaining appropriate social development outcomes, including community resilience. Therefore, before, during, and after the design, construction, operation, and completion of each development policy, plan, program, and project, the social impacts, both negative and positive, of the intervention need to be predicted, assessed, mitigated, monitored, managed, and understood in their local social context. Acknowledging how the social issues are perceived, experienced, and interpreted by local communities, and addressing their concerns are crucial to ensure that development interventions become more effective in achieving positive development outcomes and more socially sustainable. In fact, to gain a social license to operate. Sustainable development requires much more than technical innovation. It also requires careful consideration of the social issues. It must facilitate cooperative discourses with affected local communities and be able to co-produce transformational knowledge that can identify and mitigate the social risks and vulnerabilities that characterize the social context, address the negative social impacts and the human rights issues that may be created by the project at the community level. And third, acknowledge local needs and desires for and perceptions of past, present, and future development. Number 4, recognize the local knowledge and the local capacities that need to be engaged and strengthened. Build deliberative spaces and facilitate deliberativeness in order to enhance social development. Building community resilience is considered key to enhancing community development outcomes. Community resilience can be understood as the social survival process that occurs within a place that are being put into action by local communities in order to address the negative social and economic impacts that they perceive as common problems during crisis. Planning and implementing sustainable interventions require skills in understanding, managing, and enhancing community resilience. I strongly agree with that social impact assessment can assist the project team, and the planning process in its tasks. SIA is a field of research, is an interdisciplinary discourse and practice that has been developing since the early 1970s. It can assist in the adaptive management of sustainable development projects, and it can help achieve positive social development outcomes. Van Clay et al. Developed the 4 phases of the SIA framework for action. That is, phase 1, understanding the local context. In this phase, SIA helps identify and conceptualize specific local, biophysical, and social change process. Phase 2, recognizing local concerns and capacities. The recognizing phase involves predicting, analyzing, and assessing the likely impacts of the proposed intervention and helps development agencies refine their proposals to better address local needs and perception and to recognize resilience capacities. Phase 3, engaging local communities. The engaging phase supports the development of mitigation and social development strategies and helps development agencies achieve social development outcomes such as enhanced community resiliences. Phase 4, empowering socially sustainable transformations. The empowering phase places SIA monitoring programs and tools in the hands of local communities and strengthens their collective sense of social responsibility and commitment to maintain project outcomes. Here are for your references the 4 phases. In conclusion, we Voyage work harder to establish the relevance and the effectiveness of SIA on the world stage. The SIA framework for action showed that the new development trends can be considered by SIA and included within its process and practices. The SIA framework for action helps local communities, social practitioners, project managers, development agency, and decision makers to better understand and conceptualize the actions needed to enhance the social development outcomes, such as enhance the local community resilience. It helps Voyage development policies, plans, programs, and projects take a community-oriented approach to planning and project implementation. Finally, I emphasize again, SIA is an approach to understanding, assessing, and managing the impacts of change on individual, family, and communities across the whole world in project development. Not only governments, but more and more nonprofit organizations use SIAs to guide and inform effective development planning, resulting in more effective project and policy delivery. The introduction of the SIA in my today's keynote speech has placed an emphasis on ensuring that social and community aspects are appropriately considered. I quoted Clement Monk's famous saying to end my speech: "It's not rocket science, it's social science." Good SIA is not rocket science, but it is social science. The science of understanding people's needs and their unique relationship with art, literature, history, music, work, philosophy, community, technology, and psychology. The act of design is structuring and creating that balance. I believe that the summit will enrich and equip us with useful information we can apply when we go back to our work in Voyage. I wish everyone a very productive summit ahead of us. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.